Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Wednesday, 25 February. I am your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about the Pentagon has given an ultimatum to Anthropic over AI curbs. Ukraine has denied Russia's claim that they're going to attempt to use a dirty bomb, and the German Chancellor Merz has landed in Beijing. So firstly, the United States Defense Department has given the artificial company Anthropic a Friday deadline to open its technology for unrestricted military use or face drastic action like being labelled a supply chain risk or being forced to comply under the Emergency Federal Powers Act, media reported on Tuesday. The move comes as the US Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth met with the Anthropic CEO to discuss the conflict that has now spanned months. The standoff began when Anthropic refused to let its Claude models be used to conduct US domestic surveillance or in fully autonomous weapon systems. So what? I mean, just firstly, that's quite scary to be talking about, AI in general around the use and military use and surveillance use is pretty crazy. So I'm pretty unsurprised that Anthropic doesn't really want to be involved, as, you never know what the next administration or the next justice can use, essentially turn back and blame you for what your AI has done. So to me, it kind of feels like a wise move, as this is likely becoming political, and if they were to comply and let their AI be used for weapon systems, you never know what kind of blame they're going to get down the road. So I can understand that they don't want to get anywhere near that. It's possible they'll be forced to comply, but it could get tied up in courts. Anthropic could try and argue it through to the Supreme Court and try and argue their case to not have to comply. But also, if they're forced to comply, this could be their defense if they were later tried to be charged for what their AI did in the past. But let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. This is a pretty crazy story to be talking about, so I'm really interested to hear what you have to say. I find AI and the military and weapon systems to be quite a scary topic. And next, Ukraine called Russia's claims that Kiev was trying to obtain nuclear weapons absurd. The Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, or SVR, accused the UK and France of seeking to secretly supply Ukraine with nuclear weapon parts and technology. The SVR did not provide evidence for their claim. In a statement, the Ukrainian Foreign Ministry told Reuters that Russian officials are known for their impressive record of lies and are once again trying to fabricate the old dirty bomb nonsense. They continued to say, for the record, Ukraine has already denied such absurd claims by Russia many times before, and they officially deny them again now. They urge the international community to reject and condemn Russia's dirty information bombs. So what? I think this is highly unlikely that Ukraine is looking to make a dirty bomb using random nuclear weapon parts. If they did want to do it, I find it highly unlikely that the UK and France would support them in this aim. And also, I don't think this is how Russia would go about stopping it. And they would come with proof. The SVR are a very good intelligence service. Well, so they used to be claimed. But they would likely have evidence of this, something that they could point to and show. So them just saying it into the wind, I find highly unlikely. It's likely more justification for their war, both to the international audience and to possibly the domestic audience, pointing at Ukraine as being the bad people in this predicament, even though Russia is clearly the aggressor in this situation. And also, this is a pretty standard SOP for Russia. Part of their information warfare campaign is just to say things, is to try and muddy the waters in the information landscape by making lots and lots of different claims and lots of absurd claims. So, this is just another day in the office for Russian intelligence. And lastly, German Chancellor Merz has landed in Beijing on Wednesday for his first visit to China. Merz is accompanied by a large delegation of business leaders. The German Chancellor will be first to be received by Premier Li Qiang with military honours. Merz is scheduled to hold talks and have dinner with the Chinese President Xi Jinping in the evening. So what? While it's an unsurprising move, it's not another great sign for Western unity and further indicates a breaking away from the US and trying to get more deals with China. as such, is likely to be received poorly by Trump personally and the US, and could lead to further tariffs, depending on how the old Supreme Court goes with Trump's tariffs and whether they have to pay them back. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be well received by the US. And while I do see what Germany is trying to do, they want to improve the economic situation and trade more with China. It's just getting further into bed with China, which geopolitically I think is dangerous. But that's my opinion, and that's what the So What is all about. So yeah, anyway, that's been your Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.